curiosity. I think that's what teachers, like, that's the job of education. Like grow, not get 100% on an exam. You know? So.
Oh, that's awesome. So, Kula, I'd like to come to you. So there's a way that I personally perceive life has arranged things. So you're born, you go for kindergarten, nursery, primary, secondary, university. I mean, you have your BSc, then you jump out and nothing is arranged for you. You know, people, by the time you're born, all that has been arranged. You know, from kindergarten you're going to nursery, from nursery you're going to the primary, from primary you're going to the secondary, from secondary to your BSc program, and then you jump out and you're wondering what next. Okay, NYC, then masters. Okay, what next? So now, at some point from my study through my platform of social sciences, I figured out that two questions usually play out in the minds of these fresh graduates. The first is survival, because in reality we're done. How do I survive? Okay, in terms of generating income and the rest. The second question that will come will be impact, which Shay was trying to explain. I guess your professor mentioned that to you, which is good. Now, you are an entrepreneur.
And build experience, you build networks. And so we tell them, get a job, solve the first problem of survival. It's really, really important. 5 years ago, I wouldn't say this. I would say, become what you want to be. But I remember I was at a conference and somebody mentioned Mark Zuckerberg and said, 20-something-year-old went to build a massive business. And I'm like, great. He has social security. If it doesn't work, he probably goes back to Harvard. His parents are obviously not poor because he went to Harvard. And Harvard is not cheap. If you're in Covenant University, in Nigeria, Covenant University is not cheap. So understand your reality, but also understand where you can go to, what you can become. So what we do in Level Up also is to connect people to mentors, and that helps them to see where they can be. All the teachers we have on Level Up already practice in their fields. So we have programmers who work in the US or who work in Spain, digital marketers who work in Spain, teachers on Level Up. Part of what they do is inspire people to see. Right now, I'm in Owerri. I've never been to even Lagos, never taken a plane in my life. I have no idea, of what I can become. I just want to survive. But I can see somebody who has done the same thing, who went through the same process, who probably didn't even have the advantage I have. I have Level Up, free education, and still succeeded, and I'm going on to build really good things in life. So we say, understand where you are right now, solve the survival problem. I think you have solved it for most people. But don't forget to dream. Don't forget to see where you can be. And I think our mentors help people to realize that I can be what I want to be. I can even become, I can actually see beyond where I am right now. And I can get an idea of where I can be in the future. So for me, lucky to have parents who send me to Covenant, I remember the final day, first class is not very important, but the final day, I graduated first class, and my whole family was everybody was celebrating. There was food, and I was not thinking about everything that was happening there. I was thinking about the next thing. What am I going to do? What's life going to be for me when I get out of here? I wasn't bothered about a job. I was thinking impact. What can I do? What can I do beyond myself? And that's a privilege that it's clear for me. It's a privilege. For many people, they don't have that privilege. And for most people, actually, in Nigeria today, they don't have that privilege. And it's important for them to understand where they are, but also understand, where they can be.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So we have a few minutes left, and I want to quickly pick the brains of all of you before you leave the stage. So, Kunle, I'll just start with, based on what you just said. I'm trying to see from what you said, a teacher should inspire people, should inspire their students, actually. Right? Now, looking at what you're doing at Level Up, I'm looking at the model of teaching there. So this is a professional who is successful in, say, maybe finance or marketing or something. So you gather like young professionals. Basically, I want to know the kind of model you use to teach. It's not formal. I can't say it's formal. You're basically bringing two groups of persons together. Let me say mentors and mentees, right? To learn. Can you just give us a brief on that? Let's tap some things from there.
So this is the way the Level Up program runs, and I was discussing about what we're trying to improve. This is the ideal Level Up. You apply to Level Up, right? And we make personality area fit test to understand where you should be. That's I should become a programmer, or because today coding is like the oil and gas of the world today. So everybody's going to tech, but not everybody will succeed in tech. Not everybody will succeed as a marketer. So we try to understand, first of all, should you be applying to this program? Should you be applying to this track of this program? And then we advise people, and we have like career advisors process. Once you get in the program, the first thing that we do again, and we draw people at this point, is to do like a 2-week program of just critical thinking. And we actually have like Stanford and an INSEAD grad who take that, and all they do is try to get people to understand how to learn, how to solve problems. We're not saying, as I said, there's no open-ended questions. There's no one way. And if you know the normal popular McKinsey interview questions, McKinsey case studies, these young graduates actually go through that process of breaking these things down. And then after that process, we drop people who we don't think should continue, right? And they can connect to the academy from outside, but they can continue the process. Because we think the most important thing is that you understand how to learn and how to solve problems. Next step is now to go specialized programs. So if you're going to tech program or a digital marketing program, we have teachers who have already done this for 5. That people can connect, take that first step of survival and get a job, right? This guy is actually giving you clear skills that you need to connect to take that first job. He's not just doing it from a theory perspective. So I read computer science, for example, in Covenant, and I had lecturers who understood how to code, right? And I had a few who didn't know how to code. And computer science is beyond coding, by the way, but there's a part that I think that's a very critical part. There's a difference in how you teach, how you assess students, even inspiring them. There's a difference when you understand what the industry requirements are. You are doing it every day. And for our experience that people, when I announced that the teacher for the next program is from XYZ and is already, people already believe that they can learn. I think that that's another side to it. There's a psychology that this lecturer is doing this, he has done very well. If he's teaching me, I can learn, I can understand whatever he teaches me. So people are actually excited to learn, and I don't see that a lot I don't know about excitement if you are learning in the average standard. People are excited to learn because real value. They know they are getting practical skills, and that's basically what the Level Up process is. And then the final part, which is also very important, is that once you go through the program, you go into an internship. You don't go to a job straight up. You go into an internship. So we have partner companies who we work with, and our first of grads are already getting internships. You go into an internship, and it's pure exploratory at the beginning. The company doesn't have to give you a job, but we've taught these guys how to learn. Your job is to learn as much as you can. So we've taught them how to learn, and they go in there, and their job is to learn as much as they can and contribute as much as they can to the company. And in 3-6 months, they are ready to actually work and bring value to whatever companies that they work with. So that's kind of what the Level Up process is.
Thank you very much. So basically, mentorship, practicals, and also inspiring learning through the process. Shay, I want to now from, and I'm going to ask the same question to Judith and Imole. So I want to know teachers that work for you, and maybe you really appreciate, because people at Wilson, and I believe that you adopt a model which I don't think is formal. I've seen you communicate at the formal and informal ways with the people. So tell me what you do. How do you teach?
Ask questions. We just our process is really just about
teacher to them.
Yeah, about asking questions, and we definitely avoid yes/no type answers. And we go through the thing that if anybody's been in our organization more than 6 months, they try to avoid me because I'm going to ask why, and why again, and then why again. And through that process, they have to get like the third, fourth layer of understanding why they're doing whatever it is they're doing. So I could tell them this is how to use the filling machine. And then I'll still say, okay, so then why would we do this? And they'll say, yeah, for it to rotate. Okay, so why would it to rotate? Why would that? So it's just a lot of me asking people questions. So just giving out the information and then asking why and expecting. Well, and then the second part is, having high expectations. So one of my mentors, I won't say her name, came by and said, you're wasting a lot of time with these people. Like, you need them to do one specific job, let them do that job and keep it moving. This same mentor came back, there's one particular lady in our organization that she said, wow, I was so wrong. This is a huge asset. I've never seen somebody like this in that organization. I see why you were doing that before. So then now is through that process of asking why, they know that even if you're right, and I ask you and you can't defend whatever you did, you'll start sweating. You'll see, like, you won't be comfortable. But even if you do the wrong thing, and then you can explain why, and then I thought this why, then okay, great. It was a wrong assumption, and it led to all these other things that led to the wrong product. But that process was okay. You're good to go, right? So it's a process of high expectations, and then hoping and encouraging people to actually think beyond the surface level.
Awesome, thank you. So high expectations and asking questions that puts responsibility of learning to them. Thank you very much. Judith.
So for us in the lab, actually it's kind of similar to what Shay just described. Definitely the high expectations, because I think, in one of the previous talks we heard, like, with the private school students, expectations were high, so they rise up to it. And the reverse with public school. And I really believe in that you have to expect of people what you want them to achieve. But in terms of learning, because we've said VR is emerging tech. Everybody's figuring it out. So coming into the lab, that you've got to be self-driven and self-motivated if you're going to figure your way around these technologies. So that's a given. Like, if you don't have those capabilities, you won't thrive. And that's not the space for you. When you can do that, when you can, do the online courses, find your way through them, then we want you to be able to, start to put things into practice. Start to look, say, is there something that I want to tackle that VR can help me do? And then start to put that in and work with people around in the lab, in other areas that align with that, to start to make things make sense in terms of a solution with the technology. And then the other thing is really driving so that people know that, nothing is anybody else's problem. So if you see something, if there's a challenge, you have to have the hat of a problem solver on at all times. You don't say, I wanted to run, Unity 3D on that system, but there was a problem, so I moved to another tab. If there's a problem there, then how are we going to solve it? Because if you don't solve it, who will? And I think with that mindset, we just kind of drive everyone to understand that we're all in this together. We're only as strong as our weakest link, so everybody must really rise up to the challenge of giving everything to make us all thrive.
Awesome, that's amazing. So apart from the lab itself, there's a culture in the lab that says you embrace the challenge of figuring out the solution. So that process also helps the students to learn. That's amazing. Thank you for that.
Yes. Yeah, we are an educational technology company, and of course we specialize more in test prep area, which means that there are two ways of looking at this for us. For once the team learning process or teaching process for the team, or of the users, which are the students that use the platform. For the students that use the platform, even though we have identified that the best assessment model would be that it's more of open-ended questions, the one that provoke critical thinking, and also help build that for students. We still cannot 100% implement that yet, because most of the test prep that we build content for are of course mimicked after popular exams, which are already the yes or no's, the A's, B's, and the C's. So the best we can do with that is to just innovate around how the explanations has been gotten, and then build a community around it, such that okay, if there is a question, there are different contributors from all around the countries of the country who can actually think deep into how well they can answer these questions, right? Build a community around it. That's how we can actually for the first step contribute to this way of critical thinking. For our staff, however, or the team members, mostly nowadays it's more of remote work, and remote work kind of helps everybody involved to think without having a direct supervisor on you. Yes, you have direct supervisor physically if you were working in-house, but with remote work you have to take responsibility. If you say that you've done a particular task, you've carried a particular task, we have to be sure that you've actually done that to the best of your ability, and so that kind of helps you that ensures that because you are taking responsibility, you think deep, you think well, you think far and wide. There are things that are not stated in your JD or what you're supposed to do, but then you go outside of the box to ensure that it's done, for as long as it makes the company go forward. So in our own case, those are the things that we've been able to do so far when it comes to the implementation of teaching models that work. Yes.
Thank you very much. Can we put hands together for our panelists? There are actually lots of questions here, but because of time, we'll just pick one, and this is addressed to you, Judith. Man, they really love you. I'm interested in exploring the use of VR for a more improved learning outcome for my. I work as a teacher in one of the public schools in Lagos. I guess the question here is how can I take advantage of this? Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for that question, whoever you are. The first thing that I would say is we have a lab in Yabba at number 8 Montgomery Road. And as a first step, I would say, please come in and visit us. You can kind of book time to come visit us any day of the week. And then we can start to talk about what might be possible for you and your students.
Thank you very much. Let's put us together for panelists. Okay, I think we're supposed to take.
May I humbly ask that Olushola Adiola rise? And please, her profile.
Good afternoon, everyone. I was genuinely dreading that video. They asked me to send 3 pictures, and so I sent you. Oh my goodness.
Shola has a strong passion for educational development and desires that every Nigerian child gain access to quality education that would enable them to dream, create their future, and live out their best lives.
I promise that's not alcohol.
In pursuit of this, she co-founded Designing Futures with Wisan Ruwane in 2013. Shola is the coordinator of the Faith Institute for Venture Design, IVD, Nigeria's first innovation hub, an initiative between Stanford Center for Design Research and Faith Foundation. Olushola Adeola will be speaking on the topic, what is the right education? Ladies and gentlemen, Olushola Adeola.
So, my embarrassment is complete. Actually, I was the coordinator of the Institute for Venture Design. Right now, actually, I'm in the process of reviving Designing Futures, which is a platform that Miss and I founded. And everything that we've discussed today is everything that Designing Futures is about. Developing the future teacher. And we're looking at a lot of teacher training platforms, teacher coaching. And so it's a pleasure and an honor to be here. It's probably my first speaking engagement in this new dispensation of my life. So thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me. It is my first time at Covenant. And I'm just excited. I'm excited that there's almost a full room in spite of the distance, in spite of the location, in spite of the season of elections, you know. So thank you all for coming. Really and truly, you should applaud yourselves. You're still here. You have stayed the course. And I am also excited about what this means for education in Nigeria. I've been staring at the problem of education for the last 13 years since Obi Ezekwesili sounded the alarm that we are in a crisis. And each year, it's almost like a multiplier effect. People are waking up from the sleep. And yes, the system is rotting, but I don't think you could have gathered people like this 10 years ago. They wouldn't have understood what is going on. So I'm also excited about what this means for the future, and I'm excited about the content and the topics. I really hope you hear something new, because I think I've heard my presentation given all day by different speakers. So I hope you hear something new. Sorry, can I actually have the clicker? Is it possible? It's going to be, I wish I had a third hand. Okay, so yeah. Just as a quick disclaimer, I'm very conscious that we are in an academic environment. The pictures are not mine. They are from Google, but they're for educational use, so I don't think I've infringed anyone's copyright. The ideas are mine and yet not mine. They are a synthesis of everything that I've learned and what I have come to believe. So I'm sharing with you my thoughts and my ideas. And I'm cheating because I also took notes. So you're hearing my thoughts and my ideas, and then I close the slides with sort of one of the things that I'm working on right now. Okay, so on the last panel, one of the profound statements that was shared is the question why. So before we can talk about the right kind of education, before we can talk about the what, we actually need to understand what is the why that we're seeking to answer. When you design a system, it's an answer to a problem or to a state of being. So there is no education system on earth that happened by chance. People thought about it. People thought about how to answer a problem or what, you know, what is our vision of the future of a country? Then we designed the education system. You know, so I've put forward a few theories. So the first picture there is supposed to represent skills. This whole idea of we need skills. So we design an education system that is skills-focused, skills-based, because we need skills in the healthcare sector, we need skills in agriculture, food. The bottom picture is meant to depict economic development. So education, you know, human capital development is what is required for an economy to thrive. So if Nigeria says they're going to focus on agriculture and non-oil resources, then the entire education system has to understand that it's rising up to meet that need. And so you design a system where the industries that need the skills should be talking with the educators. At least, so this is a why. There are many whys. So there are some countries where their why is compliance. They want a citizenry that are obedient, that don't challenge authority. And I'm sure if you look at the world news, you can recognize some of those countries. I love the person that has decided he'll never comply. And even the last picture should actually look familiar. Oral tradition, one of the earliest forms of education that still exists today in many cultures. The purpose of education was to pass down knowledge, was to retain our history, was so we don't lose our identity and our culture. It wasn't about something new, it was about not forgetting the old. So if there's one thing I would charge everyone here, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a student, whether you're working to support the education sector, whether you're in business, you need to come up with your own concept of why. Is education about the economy? Is education about the individual? Is education about culture? What does education mean? In the following slides, I talk a little bit about the why, and then I talk a little bit about the what. I'm still trying to fully articulate my why. It has changed. So the first thing I believe the right kind of education should do is to focus on becoming. I'm sure you know where I'm going with this when you see the caterpillar. I love the analogy of the caterpillar for several reasons. The caterpillar is an insect on its own. It's not larva waiting to become. It is an insect. You see caterpillars, we have a name for it. And I think this caterpillar is particularly pretty. It's green, it's colorful. If it comes near some people, we'll start hearing screams. But for the most part, some people like them, and they're bugs, and they have functions, and they have a reason for it. But they don't stay caterpillars, right? They are becoming. Now, we also know, I'm sure some of us have seen the pictures of a cat looking into the mirror and seeing a lion. So imagine an education system where you look at the children in your classroom, whatever age they're at, and you don't see them as a caterpillar, but you see them as who they are becoming. And you teach them to see themselves as who they are becoming. What if the next Minister of Education was? What if the next DG of Police was in your classroom? What if the next Chairman of INEC was in your classroom? How would you teach? How would you educate? How would you engage? How would you engage them? Who are we becoming? And for those who are spiritual people, I hope you can read between the lines. It is what you behold in the mirror that you are becoming, right? So teachers, what are the children seeing? What are the students seeing? Even you as individuals in this room, when you look in the mirror, what do you see? And you can actually make a choice today. You may not have liked who you were. You may have, we all have different stories. I love it. It's not, you can be first class and be loving yourself. You can be third class and be hating yourself, but you can make the choice today that that is gone. Today I look ahead, I look forward. Who am I becoming? And we don't stop becoming until we die. If you're not becoming, you are dead. You're always, your body, your physical body never stops changing, so why would you change on the inside? You're always becoming, whether you realize it or not. So the right kind of education is about becoming. It's about who you are becoming. Okay, this is another educational joke. I hope the scientists in the room get it, and I don't have to explain. I believe that the right kind of education is one where we realize that we are significant, that we matter, that my significance does not take away from your significance. We can all be great. We can all be significant. I don't have to put someone down to lift myself up. And my significance is not determined by how my peers do. We are significant. We are all becoming butterflies of different colors. We all have something. We are all people of value. The solid does not look at the liquid and say, gosh, I wish I could be like you. It knows why it exists, you know? And gas is really not trying to compete with solids either. They're very happy. I mean, we breathe in oxygen. Gas is very necessary to our lives. It has no reason to want to be anything else, you know? So each individual is a person of significance and of value. How, again, going back to this whole concept of becoming, if you looked in the mirror and realized that the actions that you sitting in this room today is history in the making, how would you see yourself? That whatever you come out of here and decide to do could change the fate of this nation. How would you see yourself? How would you live life if you believed that everything that you did was of significance? Which way do I point? Okay. Oh, no, I think I went too far. Yeah, okay. So the right kind of education, I'm slipping a little bit into the what. The right kind of education is one that aligns with our biology. We are physical beings that live in physical environment. And it's this whole argument of nature and nurture. But you know, it's actually all, whether it's nature, whether it's nurture, it's all biology. It's all biology. What is in you, in your DNA, how you're wired to learn. And as far as I know, there are far more intelligent people in this room than me, but the little I know of neuroscience and education is that there are 6 ways to unlock learning in the brain. There are 6 things that can be done in the classroom that can trigger learning. So what kind of education would you have that does not follow biology? It goes back to Modupe's question. You know, are you learning if your brain is not engaged? Can you say you have taught if the person's brain was switched off? So the six triggers to unlock learning, meaning, okay, so I asked a math teacher once, why on earth do we have to learn simultaneous equations? I don't understand. Like, I never understood that. So for the non-math lovers, you understand my pain. I hated it. And you do it over and over and over again, and then they never come back to it. Oh. As you go through life, nobody ever comes back to tell you the significance or the meaning behind simultaneous equations. But she said to me that, you know, if you have 10 naira and you have to go and buy apples and oranges, you need to be able to know how much is going to go into the apples, how much is going to go into oranges. I'm like, are you serious? So all those times I'm doing simultaneous equations and I don't even know it, right? But imagine if a child in primary 6 was actually realized that that's what they were doing. Would they ever wonder why they learned simultaneous equations? Wouldn't life in math be easier if you actually understood why you were learning what you were learning? It would be. It would be so much easier. And your brain actually keys in to the contents once they understand why. So meaning, and then relevance. I sat in a classroom recently where they're trying to teach multiplication and the children were just staring at the board. So what she now said is, okay, so imagine that you're going to visit your grandparents and it's like a family reunion. And so she started using brothers and sisters, started using, and your cousin this and your cousin that. And the children started saying, and yes, my sister this, and they called out the person's name. All of a sudden, a silent, staring classroom keyed into the lesson because they could remember their sister, they could remember their brother, they could remember their cousin, and be throwing it in. And the content comes to life. So the relevance is created. You can relate, you can put yourself in the thing that you're learning. Sorry, I'm working with a primary school. I know I'm in a university, but my examples tend to be with younger children. Novelty. You know, don't you get bored coming in teaching the same thing day in, day out? If you are bored teaching it, how do you think the children are? We talk about how everyone is distracted. They're on their phones. We have shorter attention spans. Novelty keeps everybody engaged, both the teacher and the student. So trust me, it's helpful. Try doing differently. The same, you may have taught it the same way for 5 years. This year, try it differently. Try it differently and see what happens. Even you as the teacher, just change things up. Choice. This is the hardest one to realize, but we all make choices. We like this. I don't like peas. I like carrots. I don't like amala and ewedu. I like pounded yam and we have choices. We like certain things, and children will learn when it's something that they like, when it's something that they choose. In this entire day, we've talked a lot about technology, but what technology has done actually is to create choice. You have multiple platforms to reach students. If they're on WhatsApp and Facebook, meet them there. It's a choice that they're making. Today, with so much e-books, it's a choice to buy it's a choice to buy a physical book, and many people still make that choice. Choice is because when you choose, your brain is choosing how it wants to learn. Emotion. There are many things that have happened in your lives that you'll never forget. For those who are married, your wedding day may have been a wonderful, joyful day. The day after may have been, oh my God, what did I do? I don't know. But, you know, some memorable days in your life are because of emotion. And we always encourage in education that let the emotion that stands out be joy and not fear. Because there are only three things you learn with fear: flight, fight, or freeze. But you learn something. But with joy, you can actually retain knowledge a lot more. And then movement. Movement pretty much more relevant the younger you are, but you know, when tea break happened, everybody was standing, everybody's walking around. It helps. You can't sit down. You know, people will be falling asleep after a while, and it's not, you know, the speaker will start feeling bad, but it's not the speaker's fault. The person has been sitting there for a long time. Movement actually helps learning. It actually does. So incorporate, you know, when you're doing group work in your class, have people change where they sit. Don't allow them to sit in the same place all the time. I know it helps you remember who they are, but let them switch it up. You know, nobody should be comfortable. I mean, life is about disruption, right? And when you unlock learning, learning happens when the biology of the brain is engaged. There is a natural way to learn, and anything that is outside of the way your biology works is teaching without learning. The right kind, the right kind of education is one where we are free to dream, to design, and to co-create. And I use this picture very deliberately because I was actually visiting Singapore. I love to travel. I will spend, if I got paid yesterday, the next time the thing I do is I'm buying a ticket somewhere. And I pretty much live from trip to trip, very broke. So I traveled to Singapore, and they have this giant Ferris wheel. I call it the Singapore Eye because I never remember what it's called. And you can see the entire city. And it was just becoming evening, and the lights were coming up. Now, this picture is a picture of man-made trees. Well, it's Gardens by the Bay, and they have kids. It's what do they call those places where you have plants and flowers and pardon? Botanical gardens. Thank you. See, educated people in the room. You go there, and it's nature, and it's wonderful. And had this very idea of creating these structures. They are trees, but they are man-made, and they provide renewable energy into the gardens. So they are eco-friendly, alternative power source, and they're beautiful. And I remember staring at them, and a thought popped into my head that, you know, I really think that this, you know, there was one civil servant sitting down somewhere at his desk, and he started doodling. And he started doodling these trees. And he started brainstorming that, okay, what if they look like this? What if people could walk around them? Could put generators inside them? And what if they did this? And what if they did that? And just allowed his or her mind to wander and said, this is an idea. Let me go and take it to or let me go and take it to an investor. Or let me go and take it to someone and say, yeah. If somebody in Nigeria came to you and said, let's build man-made laughing already. I have a friend right here, is laughing already. Let's build these giant trees, and people from all over the world are going to come and visit. You look at the person like, Did you eat breakfast this morning? You know, are you seeing things? And I think, and what I took away from experience is that the country, it's not about how well developed it is, but it had gotten to the point where individuals can dream and create crazy things, and this is of our circumstances, but we are free to dream, design, and create. Okay. Paused. Okay. And the right kind of education prepares us for an unknown and an uncertain future. So I've tried to synthesize what I think fits into future readiness. The first is identity, which is what I started talking about. Who are you becoming? And who you are becoming is a composite of character, beliefs, and values. That's really who you are on the inside. You know, we can measure a man by several yardsticks. Oh, he amassed this much wealth. Oh, he had so-and-so impact, and 10,000 children went to school because of this person. But when you die, you can't take that with you. Even as you're going along your journey through life, you don't know that that's what's going to happen. The only thing you have control over is who you're becoming. What do you believe? What do you stand for? Who are you on the inside? And that stays with you for learning. So I do distinguish between education and learning. The right kind of education is one in which learning actually happens. You can have an education. Many people have degrees. Many people have certificates, but they don't have learning. And it's not their fault. I think the system is broken. So I will never, ever look down on anyone who has an amazing degree but cannot write a letter without a typo. No, it's not something to laugh at. It's something we should cry at, because that person didn't ask for that. That person went to school. They did their job. They showed up in class. They did. They showed up in class. They didn't skip class. How many people show up in class expecting to receive knowledge, but the system fails them? So learning is really about skills, competencies, and choices. I can decide to pick up coding today. I want to go and learn how to sew. I can decide I want to study aeronautic engineering. Those are choices. And I pick up skills as I see fit and necessary. So it's very dynamic. It's based on needs and opportunities. But I'm any place. And I learn how to make the right choices. I understand how, and I choose to learn that way. I understand the choices I'm making. You actually have to teach children how to make choices, because they don't always understand. And the last, which is very interesting, because I struggled with how to frame this, connectivity, but I am not talking digital connectivity. In fact, I wanted to, like, you know, in person and create a word, interpersonalism, you know, and come up with this new word. The point is that we don't live in isolation. Technology has enabled greater connectivity with people, not the connectivity to nothingness or information, to people. Social media is social before it is media, right? You're engaging with people. And you cannot have an education system that does not help you engage with people. We always forget that. Collaboration is not group work. You can have 5 people in a room, but they're not collaborating. They're not working together. Everyone is working in silos. So the right kind of education fosters human social connectivity, interpersonal relationships. The divorce rates will not be climbing if we did that better. Community collaboration, and this is something that we do naturally, so let's not lose it as we refine, transform our education system. Okay. So what I've done very well, hopefully not too long, is to provide a map. I haven't given you a destination. I've given you what I think the right kind of like, and I think that I believe everyone here has the freedom to whether or not they choose to agree, and if they do agree, start to design the classroom experience, their teaching experience, the learning environment, to start to say, okay, if this is the product that I want, if I want an education where people are becoming, where people are significant, they're of value, that prepares them for the future, that fosters connectivity, then what should I be doing today? What should I be doing today? What can I start doing? That I cannot tell you. I can only encourage you. I quit my job and I said, I want to figure out how to transform my education system to look like this. I'm not a teacher. I do not have an education degree. It's a hard job, but Nigeria needs it. And that's why I do it. So, if anything, and understand that we are in a crisis. People are leaving Nigeria in droves. But what are you leaving Nigeria for? Who are you leaving Nigeria to? So that evil will prevail? Is that no? Sorry, I don't hate people for leaving. I encourage people, because there's nothing wrong with wanting a simple life. But for those of you who, in any way, shape, or form, like to give back or care about the less privileged or whatever, right? What are you leaving Nigeria for? Who are you leaving Nigeria to? You're leaving Nigeria so that evil will prevail and you've escaped. Sorry, that's how I feel. I'm very passionate about that. Very quick, okay, this was the last slide. And this is the closest I have found that mirrors what I think the right kind of education is. I discovered a school in Calgary, Alberta, in Canada, that has developed a system called Imaginal Education. And it is country agnostic. You can be imaginal anywhere in the world. What imaginal means is to be able to see and create your future.